Hi there, welcome to the Teeny Tinkers channel. I make ball jointed doll and craft related content. It's time for the sculpting to continue. And of course, yes, I do mean the traditional clay sculpting I've been doing kind of recently on my channel. This is the third video in that series. We've already sculpted the torso and the base of the legs. Like, this is all the bases. But today we're going to be doing the arms and elbow joints. A little similar to the legs, but a little different. This is her. All right, so this is her. I'm pretty pleased with her so far. I'm happy with the length of her legs, I think, but I think that they could be a little chunkier. That's another video for another day. But for now, we are going to be giving her some arms, so she's not just sitting here, you know. She does have hooks for feet, so there's that. I'm going to take a moment at the beginning of this video to just remind you that if you like the video at any point in the video, the likes really help the algorithm. It's really great. Yeah, it's very good for the channel. I would appreciate. Also, if you would like to go ahead and subscribe, if you're not already, that would also mean the world and be so fantastic and helps the channel and me and my business and our community grow. All right, enough of that. So let's go ahead and get started on the arms. Getting set up, I've got my clay BJD and also my blueprint. I did the blueprint on cardboard, and over time the oils from the polymer clay may have made it look like a greasy pizza box. I roll out the clay with this super heavy cardboard tube. I don't have a rolling pin, okay? Oops, I forgot my sculpting tools. I also grabbed some teeny little wooden beads to use in place of the joints later on. I also need more paper straws. These are super sturdy to work on. Using the blueprint as a guide, I cut the straws down to the length they need to be for the arms. I double check that they're even, then roll them in the flattened clay. I cut off the extra so the arms aren't too bulky. Smoothing out the clay takes deceptively long. Even though you only see me do it for a few seconds, it took a couple of minutes per arm to get the clay snug and smooth on the straws. Once smooth, I cut off the extra clay that migrated to the ends so that the arms stay the correct length. I have a tendency to make the arms on all of my clay dolls really long. I am determined to not let that happen, so I am checking the blueprint at every stage. I hope to not have to cut them down too much or at all later. I repeat the process for the other arm and then check the lengths to make sure that they still match. In traditional sculpting, there's no symmetry tool, but I am doing my best to keep them even. Now I need to make the shoulder joints. This is honestly super easy. It's just rolling out a couple clay balls which roughly fit into the shoulder sockets on the chest piece. Rolling them out like this is super fun. I got the shoulder balls right on the first try. They fit into the sockets really nicely. Then I press them into the top of the tube and smooth them on. I make sure the ball leans in on one side to avoid having a weird rounded shape on the outside of the shoulder. Then again onto the blueprint to check the length. I notice the arms now look a bit too long, so I press the shoulder balls down some more. This makes the fit in the sockets a little bit off later, but it will be easily fixed in the fitting and smoothing stage. Time to add some shape to these spaghetti and meatball arms. I add blobs of clay where the muscle should go. Making sure to alternate arms to make sure the blobs are as even as possible. Once all blobs are in place, I use my hands and the silicone sculpting tools to smooth them on. The silicone sculpting tools are so great for blending in the clay, but I like to use my hands to pull the clay around and define the shapes. In earlier sculpting projects, I went more cartoony and didn't give as much muscle tone to my sculpts. I've been having a lot of fun adding it in though. Let me know your thoughts. Once one arm is smooth, I test it in the body again, and I think it looks pretty good. I trim it a little bit more to keep the length and move the forearm muscles up higher to keep the elbow at her waist. I wanted to share a thought. I've been doing traditional sculpting videos pretty often recently. You all seem to enjoy them, and I'm having a blast. I think we hear about digital versus traditional sculpting all the time. I don't think it has to be like that. I think we can all be Miley Cyrus and have the best of both worlds. Neither is better, in my opinion. There are pros and cons to both. When I finish this doll, someday, I would love to share my experience. Let me know if you're interested in something like that. For the shoulder joint, I use a craft knife to cut the slots. I had a bit of trouble here because the straw didn't go all the way up to the top of the shoulder, so I kind of had to find the channel. In the future, I would definitely use a longer straw. Using a pokey tool, connect the top of the shoulder joint to the channel. Repeat for the other side. Now, to take all that hard work and cut it in half. Well, the elbow has to go somewhere, right? Cutting the beautifully smooth pieces is tough, but I am so happy with how cleanly these cut and came off the straws. I've used plastic straws before and had issues getting the clay off. However, they peel right off of these paper straws, so 10 out of 10 recommend. Time to add bead to this BJD. To start forming the elbow sockets, I hot glue 2 of the wooden beads together to make a faux joint. It's easier to shape the sockets without worrying about smooshing the elbow joints this way. I would have loved to have done this for the knees if I had beads big enough. They likely would have worked better in this way too. Before I can fit the elbows, I need to actually cut the sockets. I sort of just scoop out the clay around it and make a space for the beads to sit. When I sculpt digitally, I kind of do this backwards. I typically cut the arm in half, and then I'll cut a 90-degree angle across the bottom of the arm where the joint would move. It's only after I do this that I would even put the socket in. Okay, but back to what we're doing, and that is traditional sculpting. Once there's enough space, I place the beads and press the clay gently around them like this. Repeat as needed until you have a functioning or mostly functioning arm, kind of like this. I'm pretty happy with the range of movement, but I'll probably end up shaving a little more off the front of the arm, just so that the arm can tuck all the way up. I really love when joints can do that. I also really like when shoulder joints can rest all the way down. When the arms are stuck up like Ralphie's little brother in A Christmas Story, I can't put my arms down! I just wish they'd go down so that they can do the really cute poses and cross their arms and stuff. I love that. Alright, it's time for Doll of the Week. This week's doll is from Bunny Wyatt over on Instagram, who shared these super cute photos of her teeny Tinkers Luna. By the time this is posted, she's probably had that Luna for a while and maybe even posted another photo, so go check out her Instagram if you'd like to see. But as I'm recording this, the Celestial Squad pre-order just got home not too long ago. But to bring this back to Bunny Wyatt, also sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, this hoodie is super cute on her and I think she looks really cute with her new best friend. Thank you so much for sharing your photos and for supporting me. If you would like to be considered for Doll of the Week, don't forget to tag your photos of my sculpts with hashtag TeenyTinkersDolls or hashtag TeenyTinkers on Instagram. Okay, back to the video. Making elbows. I basically made tiny clay balls, the same size as the wood beads, and just stuck them together. There's no way that my stubby fingers are fitting into that tiny elbow crevice, so I'm super grateful to have silicone sculpting tools at my disposal. After smoothing the clay together with the silicone tools, I stabbed them in the heart. Okay, not that dramatic, but basically I make an elbow skewer, which I fit to the sockets I made earlier. I'm not gonna lie, there was a half a second where I considered using a paper straw to make the elbow joints, but then logic kicked in and I realized that there was no way that that was going to fit or to work. And I'd probably never be able to get the straws off with the elbows in one piece. But, you know. Again, double check that they're more or less the same size and height as each other, or your arms aren't going to be the same length. From there, I refine the fit and use the craft knife to create slots for the elastic. Also, just taking a quick moment to mention my second channel, Tinier Tinkers. It's my more casual channel full of chat videos, unboxings, and crafty things. If you're into it, I would love it if you checked it out. Now that I'm over here using the actual elbow joints to fit, I am finding that I will have to cut more down. It was pretty hard to make the elbow joints both functional and as small as those wood beads. I probably could have sized up one bead and it would have been fine, but it ended up working out alright anyways. Also, taking a minute to remind anyone that if anyone is using these videos as a tutorial or using them to get inspired to make their own doll, oh my gosh, please message me on Instagram or you can email me. My email is now in my description because I would love to hear about it. I would love to give any assistance I can help if I've got a moment. And most of all, I would love to see what you're working on. Hearing about how my videos or my dolls have inspired you to make your own, best feeling in the world. Please never be afraid to share. And back to what I'm doing, I'm really liking how these elbows and arms are fitting together. I think I've only sculpted a handful of clay ball jointed dolls, but a plethora of art dolls. These are the best clay elbows I've ever made. But I think that's kind of the point of this series, I guess. Let's pop them into the oven to bake. They come out toasty and more or less the same shape. Sometimes things shrink or become a bit misshapen in the oven, but this is pretty good. I pull out some elastic and a needle and thread to give these arms a test string. Stringing clay dolls stresses me the heck out, honestly, so I string pretty loosely. She can definitely still pose though. And in reality, polymer clay is pretty strong. I think stronger than I give it credit for. But because it's not resin, it kind of freaks me out because if it cracks, it's cracked, and then I have to fix it or remake it, and oof. The more pieces I'm making of this doll, the more I'm vibing with it. It's really kind of Rubenesque, if that makes sense. I keep saying I need to make the legs chunkier, and I think I do, but I don't think that they're exactly twiggy either. I think she has a really nice shape. And it's not a shape I really see very much. Also, I know we're 3 videos in at this point, and I wish I'd started this at the beginning, but I've decided to start keeping count of how many hours of work have gone into her. So by the end of this video, when we've added the arms, there are 24 hours of work in this doll, which honestly, so far is akin to the time I've put into a digitally sculpted body at this point. All right, so I'm really vibing with how she's coming along. I think her proportions are actually pretty good. So her wrists end at the top of her thigh, which is ideal, which leaves some space for her wrist and the hand to come down to about 1/3 of the way down the thigh. While I do want to edit the fit of the balls into the sockets, I'll probably end up making the sockets for the shoulder joints bigger because I think the balls themselves are really pretty nice and even to begin with. And I think this just needs to sit further in to sit closer to the body. However, I'm really happy with the way the joints actually look. She's very chunky and I love it a lot. Her legs definitely need more girth and then maybe a little more added back into her waist. But again, that's going to be in the fitting and adjustments video in a while. The next video is actually going to be, I've decided, I was going to do hands and feet, but I am dying to give this girl a face and a head. So I don't think I have any other option but to do the head next. So I'm also really excited to give her a head because once I give her a head, I feel like I can give her a name and just stop calling her the doll, the clay doll. But yeah, oh, I just like the way she poses. I like the aesthetics of her joints so far. They need adjustments, but I think it's gonna be really good. All right, well, if you're already subscribed, thanks so much for subscribing. If you're new here, hope you like the content and consider subscribing. As always, I hope you have a fantastic day.